Hey folks, it's Andy Tyndall. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of the Eric Maddox episode on empathy-based listening techniques. So you wrap up, you guys capture Saddam, and where do you go to? What happens next in your career and that sort of thing, as it relates to being an interrogator, a negotiator, and that sort of thing?
Right. So when you find Saddam, you don't really know what's going to happen. You pretty quickly better get your arms wrapped around the fact that your professional career probably has peaked at the age of 31, but you don't know. I was taken immediately to the Pentagon, to the office of the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. Donald Rumsfeld loved this interrogation process. And on the spot, in front of all these admirals and generals, he said, I want my own team of interrogators. He said, I don't have to borrow the Chinese Mandarin staff sergeant out of Los Angeles. He said, I want my own team, and Eric Maddox will be my first one. So, Andy, by the time I got back to my office in Los Angeles, there was an email from the office of the Secretary of Defense. Apparently, over that weekend, Secretary Rumsfeld had received the funding for the Defense Intelligence Agency to have a 30-person civilian interrogation team. I was being offered the first position. No idea if I had a choice whether or not I took that job. I took it.
Of course.
I went around and trained intel officers, other interrogators, continued to stay with the Joint Special Operations Command, going out on the battlefield, using the empathy-based listening, tracking down high-value targets. I developed this passion for interrogations in any circumstance. Because I said, empathy-based listening, maybe it's great on the targets and the raids. Maybe it's great to capture the ace of spades, but does it work everywhere, right? That's why I love that I've interrogated prisoners from 25 different countries. I've done tours 2 to Iraq, 3 to Afghanistan, Philippines, Bosnia, even an undisclosed location, right?
Yeah, of course.
Some of the circumstances are prisoners, they'll never leave prison. Some are right on the battlefield. And I've always said, I need to make sure that this process, that I know how to use it in every single circumstance, right? So then I start getting asked, hey, can you come teach us to do this in the private sector? And I thought, maybe, let me see. Until I realized business, it's about forming relationships. And the formation, the foundation's got to be on trust. And I said, wait a second, you're building trust to convince them that you're good at what you do and that you say you're going to do what you say you're going to do, which is important. All they care about is, are you going to do that for them or just for yourself? Or are you going to do it mostly for yourself and some of that for them? They don't even want to know if you're going to do it 50-50. They want to know, when you take what you're good at, are you going to make them first? And because when you make them first, we empower them to come to you and say, here's some more ideas. Here's our creativity. Here's our magic. Here's our secret sauce. And we blow it up.
So let's get into the secret sauce. Because clearly your techniques worked throughout the time that you were in Iraq, throughout the time that you were on the team that Rumsfeld put together.
Yep.
Can you give the listeners a sense of how it's shaped up, or the different components of the empathy-based listening techniques, and how they can apply it to their daily, everyday living?
So empathy-based listening, right? It's kind of the process. Process number one, we have to look at what is trust, right? I need us to look and say, how do you build it now? How do you win a client now?
Or even just a friend, even like how do you have someone build a deeper friendship with you, whether it's someone you just meet or someone you've known a little bit and you're moving closer as friends, or even from a business setting, how do you get to that next level with a client prospect or something along those lines? But either application, would love to have you go deeper with it.
Let's talk about friends and relationships, right? What makes a good friend? And people say, well, you need to be a great conversationalist. And people think, I'm really funny. I'm quick-witted, right? You know what? I'm a great storyteller. I've got so many experiences. I have a knowledge of books. I love giving book quotes. I'm good at taking whatever somebody's talking about and relating with them of my similar experiences to what they're discussing. Here's what we're missing. We're making it about what our strengths are, what the relationship building, the partnership building says. Your strength needs to be understanding and embracing theirs. That's all anyone ever wants.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, if somebody starts talking to you about their plans this summer, because they've got this family plan on this bucket list to go to Paris, right? We're going to Paris for 2 weeks and we're so excited. Do you know how many people go, oh my gosh, I've been to Paris. We went there for 3 weeks. It's fantastic, blah, 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 blah. They don't care. And it's not that they don't care. They don't care at all. All they want to know is, are you intrigued? And by the way, will you at least listen to me? Because all they're thinking about is Paris, and they just want somebody to actually listen to them. Yes, you've been to Paris, and it's fine if you go, oh my goodness, I've been to Paris. It's my absolute favorite place. Where are you all going when you go there? It's fine to say, I've been there. I can relate. It's fantastic. But where are you going? What will you be doing? And if they say, oh, we're going to go see a soccer game, the France national team's playing Belgium or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What you don't want to say is, we saw a game when we were there. No. You should say, oh my goodness, they love soccer so much. You guys are going to have a blast. How did you pull that together? How did you get tickets? It always has to go to them. And then eventually just stop talking about your trip to Paris. Nobody cares. They don't care.
They don't care.
You related? We got it. You've been there. You got the passport. Whatever. Make it about them. Now, once you make it about them, does that mean what? We have to listen to their future trip? Yeah, you do. But you know what? You also become one of those very few people on this planet that actually listens to them. They will not forget it. They will cherish that friendship and they will seek you out, whether you like it or not. So don't use this on people you do not want to be around, because you will create more friends than you know what to do with. But what it gives you is direct access, a relationship with anyone you want in the world.
So what are the different categories? I believe you have different categories that you lay out that are essential to be a great listener.
You got me going. You asked a great question and you said, hey, what's the process? I said, first we have to understand trust, and I got stuck there. So let's go through that, right? We have to understand trust. I think you got it. Then we have to understand, well, why aren't we good at this? Well, it's because we're bad listeners, right? We only listen at 25%. That's average across the world. And then we have to say, why is that? Well, the reason is because our minds get filled up with all these distractions. So we have 6 categories of listening distractions, right? So anything that distracts you in a conversation, we can place it in one of these 6 categories, right? What are the categories? Things like things in your immediate presence, things in your personal world outside of the topic of conversation, worried about a child, worried about a loved one, worried about a meeting later today, right? There's an interesting category 3, that's our lack of topic familiarity, right? When somebody's talking about an industry, they use nomenclatures and acronyms. Their use of words we're not familiar with really lowers our listening. Then we have category 4, and these are our biases towards the individual we're listening to. Preconceived notions. Now, I'm not talking about just the biases that an interrogator might have against a, insurgent fighter and vice versa. I'm talking about if you have a client, they're always slow to make a decision. Are you talking to one of your colleagues and they always have to be right? I'm talking about people who have earned these biases, right? But we still, every time they communicate with us, their words they say, we filter those words through that bias. That lowers our listening. But then category 5 and 6, category 5, thinking about our goals, our agendas, our objectives. Think about when you're talking to your kid and you're giving them a lecture and some advice, right? You have an agenda. I want to shape the mind of my child. That's great. Your agenda takes you away from what they're trying to tell you. Talk about with a client, even a client we have tons of trust with. Whenever they communicate with us, what are we trying to do? What else do they need? What problems can I solve against that need? How do I properly communicate that solution, which is best for them, so I can gain more work, more trust, more stickiness, right? That's what we're doing. We're looking at our goals and our agendas, and it separates from the people that we're listening to. And then category 6, catch all, thinking about what you are going to say next during the conversation. I mean, that's the big one, right?
Yeah.
Every time we're communicating with someone, they say something, we're coming up with something pithy, something smart, something value add. While you're doing that, if they are speaking, you're almost listening to nothing. I mean, quite honestly, I think 25% is high. But it's simply muscle memory. Because if somebody's going in a direction and we believe that we can follow that direction, we can jump ahead, skip around, fill our mind with distractions. And as long as they're not really getting off point, we're going to listen to 25%. But you will not hear what we call, which is the next step, picking up the breadcrumbs. Andy, listening is about listening for the words, the terms, the phrases that matter most to the person that's talking. Every time somebody makes a statement to you, they drop a breadcrumb, a word, a phrase that they're basically saying, if you're listening above average, because I know the world only listens around here about 25%, and I don't want to look stupid, and I don't want to be transparent with you if you're not actually listening to me. They drop tests, these breadcrumbs. Say, let me figure out where you are right now. You're a salesperson. You came in to meet with me. Let me see if you're selling or if you're actually trying to figure out what I need. And even more importantly, I better not find out that you're going to find out what I need just so you can sell upon it. That's what I'm really looking out for. It's the biggest mistake that salespersons make. They say, I'm a great listener. I listen for needs and I sell them. That's what I do. And I said, you're killing yourself. You're listening for a need, and then you're dragging them on your stage in your movie with your solution. They're dying to tell you what they need. It takes less than 3 minutes if you'll just listen to them. So then we say, okay, let's say I can pick out these breadcrumbs. What do they look like? They come in 10 categories. They're super fun, interesting.
10 categories of breadcrumbs. Let's do it.
What's that?
10 categories of breadcrumbs. Let's roll.
10 categories of breadcrumbs. Let's go category number 1. These are exclamatory statements. These are the 100-pound loaves of bread that come slamming down in front of you. What is an exclamatory statement? For the rest of your life, this is when they're not even testing you. They're basically saying, if you're listening to me, if you're listening to me at all, you better hear this. They say, here's the deal. Anytime somebody says, here's the deal, whatever comes next, you better respond to it. That needs to be what you're listening. They say, wait. I don't think you understand. Whatever comes next, they say, stop. Can you just listen to me? Whatever comes next, they can even be positive exclamatory statements. Somebody can say, I'm going to tell you something. I don't tell a lot of people this. Whatever comes next is what you must respond to. Category 2, subjective statements. What do we mean by this? Let me give you an example. On Mondays, we all have Mondays. We see somebody on a Monday morning. What do we say to them? Hey, how was your weekend? What might they respond to us? They'll probably say, had a long weekend. And what do? We say, yeah, I had a long weekend too. And we talk about our weekend. They said long weekend. It's a test. It says, do you really care about my weekend? Or are you just asking me to be nice? Or worse, are you asking me so you can talk about your weekend? So I'm going to keep it short and simple and test you. I had a long weekend. They don't even know they're doing it. But if we would simply go long, what happened? What happened on your long weekend? Why was your weekend long? They want to know. They know you don't know what long means to them in reference to their weekend. Yeah. It's a tricky situation. It's an odd relationship. This is a weird deal. Whenever somebody says that, imagine all of you out there if you have a subordinate, you're training somebody, you have junior members of your team, and they come to you and they say, I'm really excited. I'm going to have a meeting with this firm. I'm meeting with this vice president. You know the firm, you're more experienced, you're going to give advice. And you say, well, good luck. Yeah. It's an interesting leadership structure they have over there, right? If your junior person says, yeah, I know, I've heard about it. I'm excited, though. I think I'm really prepared. How does that make you feel? It makes you go, okay, young whippersnapper, good luck. Let me know how that goes. Conversely, if that subordinate looks at you and say, really, I think I've done my homework, but what do you mean by their leadership structure? It's interesting. What does that mean? How does that make you feel?
Pick up that breadcrumb.
They empowered you. It makes you feel good. It makes you go, this youngster, they're going to succeed. This junior associate, this junior salesperson, they're going to do all right because they listen to me. You want to, and what do you want to do? You want to mentor them. You want to, people love to mentor. They love to educate. Category 2, subjective statements. Stop missing them. It's a test. Category 3, speculative statements, right? When somebody says, I'm curious, Andy, what the global economy is going to do when we stop sending out these stimulus packages, right? I mean, pick one.
Whatever.
Andy, have you ever wondered what would happen if? It's a speculative statement. Here's the one thing we have to realize. They don't care what you think. They're not done. They're saying, I have an opinion on this speculation. Andy, would you like to hear it? Because, Andy, I don't want to look stupid and just dump my opinion on the global economy if you don't want to know. But what do? We listen to this and go, that's a good question. Here's what I think. And we run with it. And they're like, oh, so I guess we're just going to do what everybody else does and have a transactional conversation where we both take the opportunity to talk about ourselves, our world, and we have a communication by living on our own stages, right? We'll go quickly now. Category four. These are lead statements, things that have piqued this individual's interest in life and business in the world, things that they're just interested in. Man, Andy, I started checking out mixed martial arts the last couple of months. That is so cool, right? It's kind of something that's come into my world. There's a sense of recency. It just tells you, hey, that's on their front of mind. You might want to go there. A need, it's the same thing. It's the opposite of lead. It's a concern, something that's come up. I'm really worried about what our HOA is asking of our neighborhood right now. Something like that, right? Where it's like, it's a new recency, but it's a concern, right? Category 6 is a change of direction. Right? So think about when you're talking to someone and they completely jump over to a different subject and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, get back on point. We want to shove them back on our stage. When somebody changes direction, their mind has gone to a different scene in their movie. We have to go with them. So look at change of direction. If you're talking to someone and say, hey, Eric, you're from Oklahoma. I bet you're a big Sooner fan, right? And I say, yeah, I am. I love the University of Oklahoma. I majored in political science. I was going to go to law school. I tell you, if I go back again, I'd go into accounting, right? You asked the question. Yeah. I dabbled a little bit about Oklahoma and Sooners, but I took it to accounting. Now, here's what's interesting. Many people will say, Eric, you went to Oklahoma. I bet you're a big Sooner fan. Maybe the person asking me that has been to an OU Texas football game. Maybe they know Bob Stoops and they met him at they've got a reason and they want to go down that route. I took it to accounting. I could give my yeah, but I wish I'd have gone accounting. And they're going to go, the reason I asked, Eric, is a couple of months ago, Bob Stoops actually came to my son's high school. My son's actually a really good athlete. He's kind of young, but they're looking at him, right? They're making it about themselves.
Absolutely.
All I want them to say is, really, accounting, why do you wish you would have done accounting? These things are going in different directions. I can watch conversations and tell you, oh my goodness, you're going down the path of this scene. They're going down the path of this scene. I don't know how you all are still having a conversation. Heaven forbid you do it in a public setting. You start, people start drinking beer. I mean, they're not even in the same stratosphere of a conversation. It's just the fact that somebody actually apparently is absorbing some of the sound waves that are coming out of each other's mouths. But imagine if you follow somebody's movie on their stage, right? Change of direction. Category 7, those are fun questions. Let's just quit assuming when somebody asks a question, they actually want to know your answer. They have a direction they want to go, right? Category 8, these are comparative statements. Somebody says, yeah, it was fine. It wasn't as good as I expected, right? They're making a comparison of how this thing turned out versus what expectations are. Third quarter 2020, it was a little bit rough. Are we making that? They're making a comparison of that quarter either to other quarters, previous third quarters. Somebody gives you a comparative statement, stay with the comparison. That's where their mind is. Okay. Category 9. This is super fun. There's no better time than the present. So if you're talking to someone and they say things like, oh, yeah, Eric, I assumed you were a football fan. I'm Notre Dame fan, so there's a lot of rivalry between the Sooners and Notre Dame. I've been to Norman. Well, that's a story for another day. Anyway, what'd you study in school, right? If anybody says that's a story for another day, oh my goodness, how much time do you have? Don't get me started. Remind me sometime to tell you about when this happened, right? There is no better time than the present, right? People, when their mind goes to a story for another day, make that day today.
So would you call category 9? What's the descriptive term that you used?
No better time than the present.
Okay.
When they want to talk about a story for another day, no, there's no better time than the present. Why? That's where they're on their movie. We follow them. Nobody ever says, no, what happened? No, seriously, I would love to hear what happened, right? It's like when you're driving cross country on a road trip, right? If you're with somebody, one of your best friends or your new wife, right? Not new, or maybe your old, right? Like it can be whatever.
Whoever.
But if you're just so excited and you're driving cross country and you're going along and you see the billboard that says biggest ball of twine, 40 miles that way, right? And one of y'all look at the other one, you go like, do you want it? And they're like, absolutely.
We got to do it. We got to
stop. Let's go, right? Because it's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to turn right and go to the biggest ball of twine with someone, it shows I'm just here with you. I don't care where we go. As long as we're in the same movie. Right? When somebody says there's something, let me remind me sometime to tell you. No, I don't care where this destination is going because I don't have an agenda. I'm in this movie with you. Right? Category 10, no fun to talk about this one. This is when somebody gives us the no bite, the rejection, the soft pass, right? We really want to convince them to do something. And they're like, yeah, I guess we'll see. That's not really what we're interested in right now. Maybe later we can talk about that, right? One of the things I need us to understand, their mind has said no, and it's somewhere else. What we don't want to do is argue, conflict, reinforce, belittle, or stand our ground. I don't know where their mind is, right? Now, if they say something to the effect of, right now, we're not as interested in that side of the program or that suggestion, Eric. They basically have said, but I would love for you to ask me what we're interested in.
There we go. Okay.
They would love for you to ask them that. We have to recognize the soft pass as a breadcrumb and say, don't beat it up. Go where they want to go. They'll take you there. They're dying to.
So soft pass comes up. Hey, I'm not interested. Wink, wink. But hey, where would you actually be interested? What do you actually want to go deeper or analyze some more? Okay, gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
Breadcrumbs. So with breadcrumbs, you said, I jotted down here, you wrote, I wrote down that these are words, terms, phrases that signify the direction that people want you to go more than anything else when you're talking with them.
I call those portals of empathy.
Portals of empathy. Portals of empathy. So, man, I love them. Those are, I always try to learn something new every day. And for this, you actually taught me some additional content that I thought I knew, but man, you took it to another gear. So that was fantastic. I wanted to just find out from the standpoint of your journey. When do you think that? Let me back up here. I realized that you had this strong desire to find Saddam, and that I ultimately changed your life to the point we're at today. In knowing you, I know that you went on a search for your birth mother, and I want to get a sense, or let the listeners get a sense of how that contributed to your desire to ultimately capture the information that led to the capture of Saddam Hussein.
Sure. So I'm going to get to, I just want to clarify one thing. I really didn't have an ultimate desire to find Saddam.
Okay.
I had an ultimate desire to be the best that I could be at my job. And it would be awesome if finding Saddam could sort of justify that. But you're right. I was adopted. And I grew up being told you can never find your biological mother. This was before 23andMe or 360 or whatever they call it, right?
All the fancy stuff.
All the DNA checks and figuring out where you are and who you're from and who you're related to. This is the 80s and 70s, and they said you can never find your biological mother. I'm at the University of Oklahoma. I'm about to go back to school for my junior year, so it was in between my sophomore and junior year, and I just said, I am done people telling me I can't do something. I didn't need to find my biological mother. I had a mother. I love my mother. I didn't need it. I wasn't looking to replace something. I just didn't like when people said, you can't do this. I'm like, yeah, says who? So I went to the hometown I was born in, which was Enid, Oklahoma. And I said, I don't know where to begin. Let's go to a library. Started looking at phone books and yearbooks. Well, the librarian comes over and is like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I got this problem. Here's what I'm doing. She loved it. So she came in. She's like, I've got some more resources. I got some more stuff. Come to find out, I knew where I was born, and I knew I was born in that town. Well, you can amazing if you just start there, and we started piecing together hospital records, dates, yearbooks, started looking for familiar faces, people. I found the last name, looked for every girl with that last name who might have, and I said, okay, they probably were younger, right? Gave a child up for adoption, maybe not. And we found a girl, and the librarian was like, oh my gosh, that's a spitting image of you, right? She was much prettier, but there were very similar things, right? So we then go find a yearbook and found this girl's mother. I immediately drove over to the house, shocked the grandmother very kindly. I was like, hey, I think your daughter might have had a child and given up for adoption. I think I'm that child. And this grandmother's kind of standing there like, no. I'm like, shoot, wrong house. She goes, you look too old.
Whoa.
I said, so you had a daughter who did give a child up for adoption? I said, May 10th, 1972. Would that ring a bell? She was like, you ought to come on inside. And she was so kind and nice. And she gave me a picture. Okay. She gave me 2 pictures. Told me about my biological mother. Tried to call her. She's not there, but if you want, you can go meet her. And I said, I'm okay. I don't know if she's comfortable discussing this. I don't want to bring up anything that she's uncomfortable with, right? I said, I just want her to know. I don't know what the circumstances were, but she didn't have an abortion. And I'm grateful for that. I hope she's not sad that she gave up a child. I hope she doesn't feel like she missed out, because I'm grateful for her. And that's all I needed. That was it. It was a chapter of my life, and I finished it. But I did. They said I couldn't do it. And that's one of the things when I got to Iraq, when I first get there, members of the CIA that were trying to help these Delta Force guys, they said, people have to make mistakes. The smart people will never find unless they make a mistake. And I said, we cannot operate that way. This is not luck. You don't chance buy this, but you've got to believe it can be done. And I know for me, hunting down high value targets came down to it's just a person. They breathe, they're alive, and they do exist. And I will tell anyone out there, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, you better believe it exists. You better see it, you better taste it. Because if you don't, it will not come true. But if you do, and you believe in it, that creates hope. Hope creates energy, and energy is what get things done.
Woo! Love it, man. My man. So like, so that spirit of believing in yourself and believing it can be done is so palpable in our conversation right now. The other question I want to ask you is like, with the experience you had with your biological mother and then your adoptive mother, could it be said that—
I mean, my mother.
Yeah, your mother, yeah.
Yeah.
Could it be said that that really played a role of your deep focus on family?
No.
Oh, good. Let's get into it,
It's a good question, but it doesn't. I only have one family. I'm no different than anybody else. I have one family. So I've seen people with one family. I've seen people with multiple families. Hopefully I get it, right?
Yeah.
You're on this world to build relationships. We're on this world to make positive impact. And for me, most positive impact I can make is to be a positive partner in relationships.
Yeah, man. That's what a lot of folks would that's what a lot of folks need to hear. Bottom line. Yeah, so in this entire journey you have like some successes, some failures here and there. Where does the creator come in? Like how do you kind of weave your creator into the amount of success that outsiders looking in would say that you have?
God. God is the center of my life. I sure do have problems turning, getting focused on life, trying to build success, getting worried about money. But for me, as a Christian, I try to shine of Jesus, right? He's my Lord. He's my Savior. So it's this ongoing challenge that says, yeah, but look at this world. I mean, you got to stay busy. You operate online in relationships, and we make money and we pay taxes and we all do all this stuff. But God is God, and he created me and he gave me everything. I took his son as my Lord and Savior. So it's just a challenge to say, how do I keep God first and in the center, but succeed in this world? And for me, it's come down to one thing.
What's that one thing?
Give control to God. When I want to be or I think I'm in control, then I get nervous, I get scared, I get tense, I don't shine, right? But when I say, God, you got this, because I'm your child and you love me, and I have faith in you and I want to walk in your path, then it says, what are you worried about? You know, they always say, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try or what would you do, right? You got to do everything. It's like, wait a second, that's what God tells us. Trust him. So for me, it's a daily reminder saying, do you trust? Because people can see when I don't, right? I'm nervous and I'm panicking, I get tense, and I like to do things that are really intense, like negotiations, like interrogations, like going on raids and tracking down, bad guys. I like that intensity. But you have to be in control. What does that mean? It doesn't mean take control. It has confidence. It's that confidence that I have a father who loves me and will take care of me. Now go shine of him. Ah, wait a second. I'm all about building relationships by walking on someone's stage. Somebody has not only made a stage for me, but they say, Eric, I'm with you on that stage at all time. Like, why am I not accepting what I tell people they should do to build healthy relationships? They're like, Eric, did you create empathy-based listening? And I said, I created the term empathy-based listening, but I didn't create it. I don't create anything. God creates everything.
Love it. Whew. Man, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, you've been around the world and back to a lot of different locations and tons of negotiations, tons of interrogations, just a lot of interactions with people. So for Eric Maddox, I would love to hear your take on what the human side of greatness looks like.
I think it has layers. I think the human side of greatness should say, we can be all that we can be if we're just doing it by ourselves and alone. I don't think we truly understand how much greater we can be as a team, with partners, with teams, and with growth, right? That's where I think it starts. Just whatever you think you're going to do, what are the capabilities if we build this strong team, this unified team? But then we say, but who do we unify with? People that look like us, people that are in our family. And the one thing I've learned, I grew up in Oklahoma, right? Small town, pretty insulated life. I've been all over the planet, all over the world. And one thing I always tell people are people. There is no Darth Vader. There's no Luke Skywalker. People inherently are good. People may have different cultures, different beliefs, but we've got to learn what other people mean, what they stand for, what they say, not because we need to conform to them, because there's so much to learn if we can at least seek to understand. And when we do that, we can empower, right? One of the things I know for certain, we do better being open and diverse than we do closed. Translate that however you want. I've traveled the world and I'm like, I just wish so many people that I know, that I'm close to, haven't left their country, could see what this culture stands for, right? And, for many different reasons, I think it's important for us to talk to immigrants who have come to the United States and then people outside of the United States so they can see their view of America, their view of this dream. Conversely, of course, we've got problems, we've got issues, and we can't say, well, we're going through this. Say, no, who do those impact the most, right? Because it's not like, well, we've got growing pains, we've always had, no, it's this, but do you see what that pain is that exists in our country for this person? It doesn't mean you have to conform and change, but you can at least understand, because when we understand, it gives us that perspective, which gives that ability to partner. And why do we partner? Because we do better as a team
together
than we do individually. So you say, what's the human side of greatness? It's like, what do you want to accomplish? What matters to you? And when you're staunch on a line on something, I say, that's fine. This is you. This is where you stand. But can you at least understand the other person's perspective? When you talk about empathy-based listening, I'll tell you this. If you take a group of people who are politically on the left and a group of politically on the right, They want to make an impact. They want to make a difference. When they're around each other, which now we're doing, we're polarizing our groups into different, everybody agrees, everybody's like-minded, and they sit around and they rumble and grumble and all this, whatever direction it is. Guess what? They don't really get much out of telling somebody that's exactly like-minded what they think. They're not changing anything.
There's nothing
But
new.
if I come in, not left or right or north or south, but I come in and they know I'm not completely conformed to their way, but I will listen to them. I will seek to understand. I will ask those great questions. They want to talk to me more than they want to talk to their own people. And if you're on the left or the right, do you understand you're going to have a bigger impact? If you're on the left, if you'll go listen to the people on the right, they'll get angry, they'll get mad. Guess what? They want to talk to you way more than they do people on their own side, and vice versa. Right?
Yeah.
We don't need to agree with everyone. We just got to seek to understand.
What a great answer. Man. You always take it to another level. All right, so we're winding down here, and in true form and fashion of this show, we always kind of wind down with a quote or a motto from our guest, specifically for the listeners to receive. So, Mr. Eric Maddox, what do you have for your quote?
So I don't have a quote, but I have a mindset, right? And it's a little edgy. It's a little, I'll show you. But I was a nobody Chinese Mandarin linguist and tracked down Saddam. It comes with some great accolades and great, awards. Less than 6 months later, I'm sent back on the battlefield, back now to Afghanistan with the Joint Special Operations Command. And the moment I get there, this group of CIA officers, agents brought me in. They said, we want to hear about that Saddam brief. And I gave them the briefing. In the middle of it, one of the agents stands up and says, have you ever been to Afghanistan? Just wait. This will never work. And I remember thinking to myself, will you please leave me your number? Because I don't know if this is going to work. But I would love to let you know in 6 months, right? And in the next 6 months, we tore that thing up. We built this strategy. I was working with this 75th Ranger Regiment, right? And we really took this on. I never saw that analyst again, right? Never did. But kind of my quote, my motto is, tell me I can't. Tell me I can't. Matter of fact, tell me one more time, but leave me your number. Because I have no problems coming to you going, you were right. I failed, man. I felt bad. But if we do succeed, if we do what we say do, I at least want you to look at yourself and go, why do you have that mindset? Why do you say this can't be done? Why do you say this is the way we've always done, or you don't understand? Like, how are we going to grow? How are we going to get better? How are we going to be entrepreneurs if it's, you'll never. I can't stand it. Those are the people I truly struggle to embrace and be good empathy-based listeners with. So my quote, my motto is, fine, tell me I can't. Tell me one more time, but you better leave me your number.
Tell me I can't, but you better leave me your number. Oh, brother, I love that one. I love it because it comes from just pure life experience that's unique to Eric. And it is just so in your face for that person who originally said, oh, you can't.
Thanks.
Yeah, dude. So with that said, Eric, congratulations on, a fantastic book that I've read several times. Congratulations on just continuing to evolve the ability for us as a people to collectively come together by the commonality of just listening to each other. And really want to thank you for being on the Human Side of Greatness podcast.
Andy, I want to thank you. I love you, man. You're a real friend of mine.
Love you too,
and I
man.
love what you're doing. So thank you. I'm honored to be on this.
Great. Be well, and we'll catch you soon, man.